Today we're speaking with Ainslie-Maria, a French teacher, a biology teacher, and a psychotherapy private practice owner. More recently, we talk about her unexpected journey into entrepreneurship, ADHD as an entrepreneur, coping mechanisms, and all things mindset when beginning your entrepreneur journey. I hope you enjoy. Let's jump into it. I would love to learn about how you got to where you are. So your journey, what did you start out in? Did you know that this was going to be what you wanted to do?
Not at all. I had no idea that I would be here. I started off with my first degree, I guess I'll say, in science, thinking that I was going to go more a medical route, actually. So my degree is in biology, specifically genetics. But over the course of different classes, I was like, is this the route that's, best for me? And I ultimately ended up going into teaching because I liked more of when I reflected on the work that I would be doing. I've always been a people person, and all of my other work experience prior had been so social and had been educational in nature. So I'm a high school teacher, and I'm a high school biology / science teacher and French teacher, I should say. But in the back of my head, I always had a passion for psychology, and my husband and I do want to start a family at some point. So there was a moment where it was like, are you going to pursue this master's degree, which could lead to these options, or not? It was very much like that crossroads moment. And I was like, screw it, we're going to do it. Yeah. So I started doing that from a place of, I want options. And now I find myself in this place where I'm like, wow, I've curated quite a few options.
Are you still teaching now and with your practice on the side?
Okay. That's it. Yeah. So I'm still teaching now. I'm still teaching high school, and I'm seeing my own clients now, which is really exciting. And then my husband's very entrepreneurial. I'm actually quite new to the entrepreneurship game. And so we just said, let's take a risk. What's the worst thing that could happen? Let's go for it. And it's really nice to be in a position where it's like helping people help people to help people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's how I feel about what I do as well. Obviously, I'm not a provider myself, but what I do pushes out their work more so that they're able to help people. It's like a whole spider web.
Exactly.
So when did you start your private practice?
Literally this year. Technically at the end of 2024. So I started it basically as I was wrapping up my master's degree. It was a moment where I thought, why not invest this time in myself? I'm still working as an independent contractor for a wonderful clinic, and because I still have so much to learn, and there's a lot of opportunities there, but I felt like it would be a waste to not at least try and pour some of that back into me. So yeah, it's very fresh, and it's been an exciting journey so far.
So you had some guidance from your husband, like when it came to starting a business, or did you have anyone in your family or any friends, like anyone to give you guidance?
So I come from a family of teachers, so it is a little bit of a departure. Like my dad's a high school teacher, my mom's an elementary school teacher. I've got aunts, cousins. Is really an education. They've always supported me gaining new life experiences and getting further education. My dad's pretty entrepreneurial. He started some side hustles here and there, but no one in my immediate family has gone on to try and fully start their own business to this scale. But my husband, who's from South Africa, actually, he ran quite a few small businesses in South Africa, and he just gave me the confidence and the support to go for it. And like I said, the woman who I work for, the clinical director of the other clinic I work at, True Self Counseling, she is a fantastic mentor and has been such a support for just like female entrepreneurs in general. So I feel pretty blessed there.
Yeah, I know. I have one friend like that who she shook my shoulders I technically have freelance for a very long time, but I technically started my business about 5 years ago. But she
No.
went to visit her in New York, and she shook me, and she was like, Hannah, you have to do it. Like, you're already doing it. You might as well just take the leap. At that time, I was a paralegal though. So COVID had just hit and I had just graduated. So, and actually,
Oh,
my degrees are in journalism and English. And so no one was wanting to hire reporters, obviously. Like, people were being laid off. So I got my paralegal certification so that I could start my business during that time. It was just like wild. But she was the only person I really had in my life who's done like a creative business. I have family
right.
who are like lawyers and they have law practices, or a veterinarian, but not anything like this. So they were
It
like,
sounds a little
"Heck are you
similar.
doing?" They were like, I don't know how you're doing it, but good job.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Sometimes it only just takes one person in your corner to plant a seed, and you start thinking, wait a minute, why wouldn't I? What's the worst that could happen? Let
It's
me just
true.
try.
I feel like, and that's what I love talking about so much too, with pretty much every entrepreneur I feel like I talk to. It really comes down to just the belief that you can do it. You know what I mean? Because if you truly don't believe that it's possible, then it's just never going to be possible.
Exactly.
It's just so interesting now, 5 years out, to look at baby me starting. I've archived so many things. It's so cringy whenever I was starting out. But I love your threads. I loved your Instagram, and I was like, okay, I feel like we get along, and your
Gonna go.
posts and things like that. But I would love to talk more about who you help, how you help them.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love the messages that you post. So I want to pick your brain about that.
Thank you. First of all, that's awesome. I appreciate that. So you mentioned earlier when we were setting up that you've got your ADHD brain. I also have ADHD. I presented actually very obviously as a child, which I would say fortunate in some ways, unfortunate in others. Fortunate in the sense that there wasn't a question whether or not I had ADHD. It was known. So I didn't fall into the camp of women who were late diagnosed or misdiagnosed. The unfortunate part is it really did set me apart from a lot of my peers. And so I struggled actually quite socially for a long time. I would say that if I actually am critically reflective, it was a long time of struggling with social interactions, but I would say it was a deep struggle for the first maybe 11 years of my life. And so when I got into this work, I really wanted to help women who had late diagnosed or had been misdiagnosed ADHD, but not just from a lens of, let me give you some strategies and tips to help you continue to mask or to help you pretend or edge closer to being neurotypical, but also to look at kind of the ramifications of growing up in a society that is not designed for neurodivergent people, and also what outdated beliefs linger as a result of having to navigate that system. And then as I started doing the work, I realized that there's a big overlap, unfortunately, between ADHD, trauma, and relationship issues, particularly in women. So that tends to be the demographic that I'm serving a lot. If I got even more specific, it would be high functioning women who are at this point with career stress and burnout because they have found ways to make it work, but those ways are leaving them completely depleted.
Do you have any tips in your own life, ways that you found to make things easier for yourself, just living life?
Yeah, this one is maybe not a simple tip or trick, but it's just something that is more of a mindset. And it sounds simple, but it's actually harder to hold yourself accountable to on a day-to-day basis. It's just work with your own biology. I say to my clients all the time, it's been pulled from different sources or referenced in different ways, but if you take a fish and ask it to swim as fast as it can, it's going to thrive. If you take a fish and ask it to climb a tree, it's going to fail. Basically, the fish is designed to thrive in one environment and not in another. And that's okay, right? So why are we holding ourselves in comparison to people who have a different biology than ourselves? And so what does that mean? It means I honor the fact, or try to honor the fact as best as I can, that I work in energy spurts. The model of a little bit every day consistently will never work for me. And so I'll explain why this realization was really profound. It's because anytime when I was in school, for example, and I had a project that I had to do, a paper that I had to write, I would get so hard on myself for not being able to chip away at it day after day, which was the advice. So like, hey, if you just do a little bit here and there, and then I'd be like, oh my gosh, Ainslie-Maria, once again, like you can't get your shit together. Like once again, you're falling short. Like you had one job. And then it was in my master's degree that I'm like, girl, you're in your master's degree. You have never not completed the task. You've always consistently over time gotten it done and gotten it done well. So just lean into that and say, yep, I'm going to do this with 2 days till the due date because I won't do it before. And I'm not going to shit on myself for procrastinating all this way. I'm going to work with my biology and trust the evidence that I've built over time that it will be done at the end.
I'm the same way as well. Like I have to give myself due dates because I'm like, I just, like you said, chipping away at it, not for me. It just doesn't work. People with ADHD, what I've noticed is that they thrive in entrepreneurship because they can tailor things to a way and to a way that works for them, which has been like a godsend for me because having a boss micromanaging me just did not work. My brain does things in a certain order. And so to me, especially like now as I've grown my business and hired assistants and things like that, to me, I just say, you know what? If you have a way that works for you and you get it done, do it however you need to. Like, I don't mind. It's not like my way or the highway type of thing because I know if I sat down and explained my process, people would probably be like, what the hell? How did you get from point A to point B? But you did. You learn to.
100%. And what's so funny is that you said people with ADHD tend to thrive in entrepreneurship. And I can see that now. But because of conditioning, learning, I don't know what, there was a part of me that thought that I would struggle to be an entrepreneur because I was like, I can never hold myself accountable. I'd be such a hot mess without prescribed routine. I can't trust myself to do that. That was a whole narrative that I carried for a long time. And when this opportunity came up, I'm like, I gotta unpack this because I can't have this be lingering in the back of my head as I'm trying to make moves here.
No, it's true. It's like that limiting belief that you actually have to believe it's a possibility. Not that it's easy or it's going to be a walk in the park, but like that you can do it through hard work and like discipline and everything. Discipline for however it looks for you. It looks different to everyone. But I just remembered that quote that I was trying to bring up earlier. I believe I heard it on a podcast with Ed Milet. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. But he did a lot of motivational work and mindset work and things like that. And he said that the way to build confidence in yourself, because like I've gone through so much of what you're talking about. Oh, why can't I just like, you're just beating yourself up or saying you're like a hot mess, which is just so not nice to yourself. No, because we really aren't. It's just your brain works differently. But he was saying the way to build confidence with yourself is to tell yourself you're going to do something and actually do it every time, like every single time. And one of the interesting things I've done that's helped is, it sounds very silly, but out loud say, even just narrate my day. I'm going to brush my teeth now, and I go brush my teeth. Or I'm going to check my emails, and I check my emails. Because it's like training your brain that the things you say you're going to do, you're going to do, and you're going to follow through with it. And that's been like a really helpful tip to me for managing it. And also just feeling a little better about yourself. Oh, okay, I did that thing that I said I was going to do.
Totally. Yep, I totally do the same thing. And something else that you just reminded me of is I bought this book for my husband, I think last year, called Do Hard Things. And then I read like a little snippet of it, and it talked about how there's a part of your brain that is associated with forcing yourself to do something that you don't want to do. And there's a correlation between the strength of that muscle, so to speak, and longevity. So people who have exercised their ability to essentially get themselves to do things that they don't really want to do live longer.
Interesting.
Which is very interesting. So now though, I love that because I use it, but I also use it as a little joke with myself. Like for simple tasks, for example, maybe you feel this, but at the end of the day, I'm exhausted and I don't really want to brush my teeth. It's like a whole battle. And then I'll be like, do hard things.
Literally, do hard things. You can check the mail. Like for me, we have to walk a little ways because we live in a complex. And so just to go check the mail, I'm like, oh, I don't want to.
Yeah, do hard things.
Yeah, it's like, that can be a hard thing. That's okay. At the end of the day, you're tired. Yeah. But no, I totally get that. So do you, in the future, do you plan to keep teaching, or what are your future goals?
Yeah, that's the question, right? I'm really not sure. If I had more hours in a day, I genuinely think I would do both for a very long time, because I truly also love teaching. I'm very passionate about education, which I think is another reason why I'm really enjoying actually these creative platforms, because I like to share information, but there will be a moment where something's got to give for sure. I'm definitely the kind of person I want to do 10,000 different things at the same time. And it's just how I've channeled my hyperactivity, so to speak, because I need to, or I can fall asleep at night.
You're too monopod. Literally, my schedule is packed. I know to say, you know what I'm gonna do? Start a podcast and a YouTube channel.
Why not?
I know. To me, I'm like, I don't know. There's so many things I want to do. It sounds like similar for you as well. And I'm just not gonna wait until it's easy or the perfect time, because then I'm always gonna be waiting. Like I can take 30 minutes, an hour out of my day, conversation, and grow a community and meet someone new. I also feel like that's valuable as well. So I don't know.
Yeah. To have interesting conversation.
Yes, exactly. To me, that's what's one of the biggest things social media is all about, that I feel like we've steered so far away from, is like people forget they're talking to actual people. And then people get scared to share their honest opinions online because of how ruthless others can be. So totally. I love that I can do things like this and bring back the actual human aspect of it, and also show people like, hey, don't be afraid to get social and reach out. Some people aren't going to want to chat, but for the people that do, you never know what that network could look like. And it's just so neat. I've met someone who lives in Canada. I've people in Europe, and it can be such a great thing. I feel like social media is so looked down upon a lot of the time, but it really can be such a great connector if you use it well.
I agree with you. It really can. And two things came to mind. One is you're like, I might as well just start this. I'm not even joking. The serendipity is my planned post for today is all about you might as well start right now. So insane. Yeah.
My mom always says, if something is like on your heart to do it, just start, because the time is going to pass anyway.
Either way. Yeah.
Anyway.
My mom says it too.
That is so funny. I got goosebumps.
I know. That's
funny. It's so true. It's what and it's like one of those phrases that just gives you permission. Even if it's a sloppy start, even if it's messy, even if it's not what you thought it was going to be, just do it. Because life is not that serious.
That's it. Bring it into existence. You can make it better later. Just create something. And and I like that. Don't take yourself so seriously. You have to be like the perfect amount of like, I'm going to take myself seriously enough to go for it, but not so seriously that I get in my own way.
I don't come into this stuff with scripted questions or anything. I like just having a conversation. And also that brought up another, I'm a quote person, if you can't already tell. I love words. Words to me are just, you could just, I don't know. I'm like a file over here. I love quotes. That's what it comes into that as well. And so when someone says something in such a great way. But that made me think of something I've heard before. I'm sure you have as well. Like people who are more advanced than you are never going to make fun of you for starting. Like they're never going to make fun for having a messy start or maybe doing something cringy or embarrassing, because they've already done that. They know, like the people who are going to make fun or whatever are people who don't take the risk. So they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, why are you showing up? Like, why are you talking online? That's so weird." Blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's actually such a good point. And I feel like I've heard something of a similar sentiment, but not phrased just like that. And I really appreciate you sharing that because yeah, it's really easy to get lost in it, especially when you see people doing things that you want to be doing
Mhm.
and they're ahead of you. And you're like, oh my gosh, it can be daunting. It
Mhm.
almost makes you want to just stop. But then it's no, like they're that advanced because they have been doing this longer
Right.
than you. That's okay.
And if we saw their first posts and their first conversations, I'm sure it would be very similar in the sense of saying silly things or like messing up or just bloopers of any kind. The reason why they are that advanced is because they've been doing this for X amount of years longer.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I also think that what you're doing is really amazing
Oh.
because, yeah, I love that you just reached out and said, hey, I like your stuff. Let's chat. And I wish more people did more of that because honestly, when I shared, I'm like, to my family, we were actually bowling when
Oh,
I
fun.
got your message. Yeah. They were like, do you know her? Is it going to be okay? What does she want? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just gonna see. I'm just gonna say
Yeah.
and see. And look at this. It's like such a nice
I know.
conversation.
My mom is so funny too. She says that all the time. She's, be careful. You don't know these people. I'm like, Mama, these are perfectly like normal people. It's not some like stranger danger thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is just funny though. Like I totally get that. My family, they are just confounded with what I do.
Yeah.
Today it's all about making connections and
That's it.
just being social in my mind. Especially like I know you're a teacher, but I work from home and I'm like, listen, I am ready to talk to I have a 7-month-old. I'm ready to talk to some adults, have
Yeah.
intelligent conversation. Like,
I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah, this is really fun for me. But also before I stop recording, I do want to ask you some other questions. But before I stop recording, do you have any resources for anyone that you might like to share? Any with people who might resonate with what we talked about today? Do you have any books that you love, podcasts you love, anything like that? And then also
Yeah.
pimp
I'm
yourself.
about to pull one right down.
Tell us where that people can find you, where they can book with you, all that good stuff.
Okay. So this book is called Set Boundaries, Find Peace.
Oh, I've seen it before. I've never read it, but
It's an excellent book. I read it this summer. What I like about this book is that I find that the author, I hope I say her name right, Nedra Glover Tawwab. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name. She's brilliant because she finds a way to challenge people to reevaluate why they are not setting boundaries and poking holes in the arguments of, oh no, I couldn't possibly, or like poking holes in all the rationalizations that people hold about setting boundaries. And at the end of every chapter, she gives an exercise for you to do in your journal. So it's very interactive. And there's also, yeah, and
I
there's
love
a deck of
homework.
cards. Exactly. As a teacher, listen, sorry. I love something with homework.
Me too. I'm like, okay, because it really helps me solidify what I've learned for sure.
Yeah.
I love a good task list.
Yeah. So her stuff, 10 out of 10 would recommend. And then as for my stuff, so my clinic's called AMD Psychotherapy. I'm pretty sure I've claimed that handle in most places, except for, I can't remember which one it is. Randomly, there's one other place that one platform, it was already taken, but Instagram, everywhere, like the big ones, that's me.
And we can share it and I'll pop it in the notes. So
perfect. And then, yeah, there's like the website is the same, amdpsychotherapy.ca. And yeah, thanks for sharing it.
Thank you for coming on and chatting with me. I would love to hang out again.
Yeah, me too. This was great.